you're in my domain. Got the whole crowd screaming out our name. It's a blowout, it's a hurricane. It's over before you know it. We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky. Gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights for the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight. Hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high. For the glory, we do it for the glory.
Good morning, Summoners, and of course, welcome to the 2018 LOL Varsity League Spring Term Week 5. We'll be your shoutcasters for the first game. I'm Atlas. With me is Arctic.
Hey guys, and man, another Sunday, another, how do I put it? Another long day of games for us
long
today.
day of
8
collegiate
games.
esports action, definitely.
And pretty interesting because finally we're going to be seeing a lot riding on these particular games, particularly for some of these teams, whether it's kind of make it or break it for a lot of them at this point.
It's basically, we're so deep into the group stages that none of these teams can afford to screw up, especially DLSU, who only debuted last week. So right now they're going to have 4 games as well. But looking at the standings here, UST and Bosu still so high up in the rankings, UP just right behind them. And of course, only the top 6 will be taken to the playoffs here. So none of these teams want to lose any of their games for the remainder of the group stage. It's just like, what, 1 week after this one? So it's just going to be very grueling for these teams, especially for iAcademy and UPD here, UPD is playing one of the matches we're going to start with for today. They're going to be fighting it out against FIT Itamaraos. So UPD Ablation Esports will be on the red side.
It's very interesting because some of these games are actually very conditional in the sense that not only are they riding on these teams needing to win, but also to an extent they also need some of their opponents to lose. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and see how this will go down as we head into the pick and ban.
Seems like FIT just going to be going on the solo laners here, and the jungler, Irelia, Talia, and the Graves banned out. Pretty smart so far.
Not bad. And of course, a quick recap of why we're seeing 2 missed out bans from UPD Ablation Esports, because there's 2 factors that come into this. Number 1 is the role swaps, which you can't normally do in the LVL unless, I believe, unless it's a substitute. But since this is a situation wherein a player isn't playing his main role, so that's 1. Number 2 as well is one of the players was actually late. So we're very strict when it comes to that here in the LVL.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Just have to be very professional about the timing of these matches. So they pay for it by losing 2 bans, which is really big. Actually, FIT has a lot of freedom to go how they're going to do this pick and ban, but seems like they're just going to go for Braum. And seems like they're going for the Gangplank here for Arving. As for the at bottom lane, they're going to lock into Jinx here. As for UPD, Kaisa, probably the Karma here. Going to be a lot of pretty good trades there in the bot side for them. As for Nona, we'll be picking up that Ornn.
yeah, so far somewhat flexible coming in from UPD Liman, but looking at that first ban within the second rotation, throwing out the Zoe respect ban coming onto set. Meanwhile, Trundle as well going to be taken away from UPD Liman along with the Skarner, so a little bit more diversity as far as bans coming in from UPD Liman as opposed to FIT, heavier focus on Veer here.
Definitely, Veer is one of those old members from the old UPD squad. Kha'Zix is one of his champions that he often uses. Seems like FIT might be going just for the Sejuani here and the Vladimir in the mid lane. So a pretty tough composition here comes from FIT. As for UPD, what will they pick up for Suzuki?
We are seeing a hover over onto this Azir. No
Ooh,
hesitation.
it is going to get locked in here, so it's going to be very interesting. 2 really heavy carries here on UPD's side with Azir and Kaisa. It's going to have a lot of work cut out for Paru as well as Nona in the top side here.
Yeah, so there you have it, guys. Both sides having locked in their composition. So let us know from wherever you're watching, whether it be Facebook Live or gaming.youtube.com/peachgreen/live as to who you guys are rooting for. Is it FIT if FIT, hashtag FIT win. Be sure to use that. Of course, if you're rooting for Ablation Esports, University of the Philippines Diliman, be sure to use hashtag UPD win. Also interesting to note, by the way, that this will actually be the debut game for Paru. So it's been a while actually since I've seen a female player in the collegiate scene. I think the most prominent that I have seen was like way back during the LICC 2016, where when we had Sophie from
that was like
Malaysia.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So definitely going to be interesting here. But as I said, this is a bunch of important matches for all of these teams today. So Ablation Esports missing 2 bans as well as having to sub in these members. It's going to be very tough on them because really you want to have that constant in your team. But of course, let's find out how all that plays out in FITI Tamaraos versus UPD Ablation Esports for the first game we're going to have today.
Yeah, looking at things here though, we are seeing a few pings being thrown out by FIT, potentially for Vision, or might have scouted out Veer as well. So, but nonetheless, I don't think we're going to be seeing anything particularly cheeky. Take note, Set and Burger are lingering towards the upper side of that lone brush in the river. So, just making sure that all entrances are kept safe for FIT.
Definitely, just have to be very careful here. UPD not taking too many risks, especially, as I said, because they have these players subbed in. You don't really want to go for anything that's already a question mark. You don't want to go for anything that's way too risky when you're already playing with something that you're not that used to playing with in the competitive scene.
Meanwhile, Arfing, if you guys noticed, already establishing Vision onto the side of University of the Philippines Diliman. So, if ever that will somewhat help in terms of determining where Veer could potentially be, but then again, Veer could just easily adjust. He is starting off bottom side of the map though.
Bottom side of the map, going to be... both of these bot lanes are going to see each other get into lane a little bit later, so that should be a signal, a little bit of information for both teams on where the other jungler is going to path through. Of course, this is Sejuani versus Kha'Zix. Seems like it's really Veer pressured a lot to actually try and get some early leads for UPD.
Yeah, very two opposite junglers that we're seeing here in terms of style, in terms of where they want to be at in the later parts of the game. I mean, here especially running this Kha'Zix, if you could really get things going, then that'll definitely help in easing with taking down key carries from FIT within those bigger fights. But at the same time, Dre, as opposed to this Kha'Zix here running a Sejuani, has a lot more value once he does, when he do hit those bigger team fights in terms of what crowd control Sejuani brings to the table. Not just that, but also in terms of gank potential as well in comparison to a Kha'Zix. Just that general crowd control, being that beefy tank, has its benefits.
Both of these junglers do have similarity in where they want to be. They want to be able to pressure the lanes early. As for Veer, he wants to get those early kills so he can get ahead and snowball as that assassin. As for Ray, just really needs to get his team ahead by using that CC in his kit to gank. So very similar in their approach, but very different in the philosophy behind it. And Ray will be meeting each other here. He's going to get jumped on with Arctic Assault. Could get a permafrost on him. He's going to be very dangerous. Has to jump away out of fear of the burst damage coming from the freeze.
There's a small trade-off between these two junglers, but looks like Veer did have to back away. Did take quite a bit of damage. Still looking very healthy in terms of mana, so I think he can still go for further camps here. Meanwhile, Dre, already looking at the lower end of the barrel, is taking blue right now though, to help relieve that.
Yeah, definitely. UPD cannot take that fight. I'd really peg it on the Vladimir here, played by Set, more than Ziggy's Azir in this part of the game. And so Veer has to back off from that one.
Now looking at this mid lane, looks like Set getting a nice push in onto Syzygy, but then again, that is somewhat expected. We are seeing Veer lingering towards this bottom side.
He wants to go for the bot side snare onto Burger, but now Neil is the one left alone. Can he jump towards his 80 carry? Just one more stack from the passive of Yochan, however, does not go through.
Yeah, Neil did have to expend his flash regardless just to make sure that he doesn't suffer as the potential first blood from FIT. And that's going to be quite tricky because even though it didn't quite translate for kills for UPD Liman, the fact that they were able to expend a ton of summoner spells from FIT's bot lane, I'd say that's pretty darn worth, especially if Veer does decide to go for round 2 and if Burger and Neil overextend in that lane.
And the good thing here for UPD is that Yochan and Paru still have all of their summoner spells. As you said, only Ignite is left here for Neil could go for the repeat gank, but I think FIT's bot lane is going to play a lot safer. Meanwhile, UPD, he might want to help out either top lane or bot lane for this one. He does not want Arfing to get ahead in this matchup against Nona. As for Set, this is just naturally how the early game, this laning phase is going to go in this kind of matchup. Suzuki could be having a little bit of trouble, but he's definitely managing this matchup here.
I'd agree with you there, Atlas, because one thing that I was worried about is because of how constant Set has been getting these shoves in the mid lane, you'd think that Suzuki might encounter potential difficulty when it comes to making sure that he lands CS, but if you're going to look at the differences, it's somewhat sizable, but it's not as big as you would expect. Meanwhile, Set is going to manage to spot out Veer. Veer going to back away, though.
Definitely, this patch is way more tough on these junglers. With how their pathing is a little bit more predictable, easily the mid lane can go for a lot of pressure on the junglers. But here, let's see if V can go for a kill here. He's 2 levels behind Set. Might not be wise, especially since his own mid laner is not level 6 just yet.
Yeah, and you have to take into account that the tricky thing when it comes to when you want to gank a Vladimir is that ideally you'd probably want him a little bit more pushed up as opposed to near his own turret, because one Sanguine Pool would just seal the deal for Set as far as escape, and that's kind of what makes things frustrating when you are the enemy jungler trying to gank a Vladimir.
It's also a little bit of factor of time. Ooh, could be looking at a gank here in the bot side. Yachan might be into this situation here. Flashes the zap, loots Neil here, so it's going to be up to X-Ray to go for the CC. Paro has to flash away here. Yochan and Paro both survive, but not without great cost.
Yeah, both flashes expended from the bot lane of UPD Diliman, but I'd say that wasn't so bad in terms of that case scenario, because at most, at least Dre wasn't level 6 at the time. That would have been a little bit more deadly had Glacial Prison been up for FIT, but nonetheless, doesn't necessarily deter Yochan and Paro as he
would have been very bad if Dre was able to get level 6 there. He's been counter-jungling V quite a lot. V's pretty much always been looking for opportunities to gank his lanes, but with Dre, we've been trying to act against that. Since he's not, most of his lanes are pretty much pushed in. They're pretty dominant on their own. Dre is looking for the level 6 so he can get the good Glacial Prison and going for ganks when he actually can. Not forcing anything too much. Could be a little bit of trouble here. Neil goes for Paro, goes for the concussive blows here. Gonna go for the stun, snared as well with the traps, and first blood goes to Burger, but they're not done yet. Dre's gonna try and go for Yochan. Nona is gonna try and teleport here, going for Burger with a call of the Forge God. He is in the party as well, takes down this Jinx. And now it's going to be Dre up next. Can he Arctic Assault? No, he cannot. Even if he would have been blocked. Here comes Seth going to try and salvage the situation. Fear is so low, gets taken down by Neil. And I think that's going to be the end of that fight.
Yeah, and what ends in a 2 for 2. So that was basically jungler for ADC and jungler for support coming in from both sides. Not as bad as I would have thought if you think about it. Either team could have really had a bad time, but luckily responses were somewhat okay.
However, it's this top lane that really pays the price. Look at that. I think this is a much bigger win for FIT than it was for UPD. That means Arfing is able to push his advantage top lane as well as get some good damage on this turret.
I'd agree with you there, Atlas, because if you're going to notice, Nuna did need to expend his teleport. Arfing teleport was down, but considering that it is almost up, definitely gives a little bit more pressure. And the fact that FIT was able to go equal to that 2-2, even though Arfing wasn't able to go for a full teleport response, definitely worth.
That is a gangplank though, but so in that situation, in any situation, almost any situation, ooh, Paro might get caught here. There's a lot of CC coming this way, come from both Dre and Neil, and Burger picks up the kill with his rocket.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Paro just wanting to try to get vision here in this river, eventually getting caught out. Wrong place at the wrong time, definitely. But nonetheless, this is starting to look pretty good for FIT overall. If you're going to notice, Burger 2-1-1 on this Jinx, mostly centered as far as who's leading the fray for FIT.
And they're really pressuring B here. You can't really do much if all the members of FIT's bot lane are around the area. They could try and salvage this situation, but unfortunately, it's just not enough.
Yeah, this is going to be tricky, especially with Beer running in a Kha'Zix. If FIT continues to close out on his resources to at least maintain relevance in this game. If ever he can't snowball, then that's gonna be all the more of a struggle. And it's somewhat reminiscent of what happened to Bulacan State University when they ran the Kazakhs, particularly for Yesh, wherein since he wasn't able to establish relevance within the early game, he just struggled massively in the mid to late, wherein he was almost a non-factor. So hopefully that's not the case for Veer in this particular game. But then again, it's not too much of a deficiency that he's working at.
However, they might go for something. Glacier Fisher does not hit onto Taro. I think FIT has to call this gank off. They do have Gray, but it seems like UPD is fighting back. He is rooted. He gets stunned by the Glacial Prison here, and Taro would be in trouble here. He does have the shield, does not cast it in time. Ooh, Burger and under cooldown, and now V trying to go for an opportunity in top side, needs to get out of dodge, goes for set, but he is taking a lot of damage, and that blood is just gets popped. It seems like Suzuki has to help him out here, goes for a really good ultimate, and as well as Nona going in for the call of the Forge God knockup. Suzuki still taking lots of damage, still very, very dangerous in this situation. So they have it to get out, and FIT, they get a very juicy first third of the game here if they can continue pushing this before Yochan can get in time.
Man, oh man, good on FIT, able to escape. Total of 3 members from UPD Liman that responded towards that top side. But amidst all that action, that was quite the lengthy chase that in the process, it was just FIT managing to take down that turret towards bot lane. So overall, I'd say a lot more value for FIT. And
so
look at that
value
difference
here for FIT. Because of what happened in bot side, Veer wants to trade for something, and he sees the opportunity to go for the buff. But of course, the response from both solo laners of FIT, absolutely perfect there. Even though they were in a dangerous spot, they were able to choke out V here still. He wasn't able to get the buff that he wanted, and they got a kill off of it.
Looks like UPD gonna help relieve some of the lead that FIT has already established. Gonna go for a dragon here. Take note, FIT, they are slowly closing in. So this
very
good
slowly. Drake could go for steal, but it is just a cloud Drake. Very useful with a movement, but it's still not as important as, say, a Mountain Drake or an Infernal Drake at this point in the game.
I agree with you, and I guess it is somewhat the best case scenario for UPD though. I mean, we were looking at almost somewhat of a lingering 4 to 5k gold difference this early on in the game. Not to mention, we're only 12 minutes into this game, and that gold difference is somewhat sizable. So I think UP Diliman at this point, of course, they want to avoid as many casualties as they can heading into the mid game, and at the same time, you know, just try to prolong it to an extent wherein they could recuperate, because so far it's a tad bit of a climb that they need to make, especially with bot lane being expended so early.
It's going to be quite dangerous, and definitely in this kind of game, it's so tough for Veer to actually do his job as a Kha'Zix. Oh, Suzuki could be in a little bit of trouble. Gets frozen here by Gray and gets beat down by Burger, and Neil actually dodges the zap here, but Set is going to go for the kill. Also going for V as well in the sidelines, but gets a shield from Paro, but they do get this turret.
Oh man, Vladimir with the Shirelius Reverie set just
so fast.
Exactly. That was just massive drifting for the kill onto Syzygy, and just like that, FIT takes the first tier turret in the mid lane.
Man, getting a lot of lane dominance here, and if you look at top side, Arving is just beating down that turret so hard. He's probably going to get that turret gold in a little bit. He has all of the components for Triforce. He just needs a little push onto the top side to get it. The Rift Herald could be the key that they need. Meanwhile, Nona has to defend this, and he can't really push out on that side of the river because it's way too dangerous. They don't have vision.
It's going to be a little bit more trickier for Veer at this point to make the climb, just so that he could have a bit more of an impact as this Kha'Zix. But at the same time, it's also going to be a struggle for Syzygy, because as far as this Azir, ideally you want to try to ramp up a little bit later on in the game, build up on your necessary items. But if you're not quite in a position wherein, sure, it might be, let's say, mid to late game, but your itemization isn't where it should be, then that's going to be a struggle for UPD overall, considering what FIT has managed to do as far as proactivity, which has led to success time and time again.
It's really so difficult for UPD in this game. They have a lot of tools that they can use to just survive and get into the late game where they're strongest, where Suzuki can just get his damage out, where Yochan can just dance around the battlefield. But Veer on that Kha'Zix, he's pressured to make plays early, but his laners aren't strongest compared to their matchups in terms of being able to receive a gank compared to, say, the relationship between Dre and the rest of his laners. So it's quite difficult for him to actually to get ahead in this game, and subsequently, it's also difficult for the rest of his team to get ahead.
Man, looking at this mid lane, we are seeing a bit of a group up coming in from UPD man. So I guess this is somewhat optimal at this point because
for Neil here, he's gonna go for the unbreakable, try and jump towards his team. This is a pretty good spot here for UPD. Go for a really good team fight in the choke points. He's taking so much damage as he dives behind though. Yochan's gonna try and finish the job. Arfing taking so much damage, Gray as well, but the rocket finished this off here, and Yochan is alone in the middle of everyone. Nona has to run away. Set is gonna try and kill him with the Hemo Plague, but it's not enough. But this gives FIT so much freedom in the mid lane.
That was crazy. 3 for nothing in favor of FIT. And you have to take into account that Seth wasn't even in the fight for what?
Yeah,
for like
the
what?
first
10
half of it,
seconds.
yeah.
Exactly. And it's so unfortunate because if you're going to think about it, terrain-wise, that would have been workable to UPD's advantage. But because of where they're at in this game, like I mentioned, they've been falling right behind as soon as FIT started putting the gears into place for them, and it's looking pretty dire for them. They really need to try to find opportunities to get back, or at least try to prolong the game, slow it down a bit, because FIT is really starting to build up crazy momentum.
That was, as you said, such good terrain for UPD to fight, but they made some pretty crucial mistakes there. They already had a pretty good Call the Forge God. Let's break it down here.
So basically what happened is Veer actually managing to spot out Neil, and UPD, the numbers advantage naturally easily workable, but then again, wasn't able to get the full value of that knockup. And at the same time, Sijiji, he did come from the backline, tried to go for a flank Emperor's Divide, but immediately FIT just turned on him, immediately took him down, and Set making it in the nick of time, as everyone else on FIT had pretty low health bars. But of course, UPD at this point, they needed to back away from Set, who's just massively...
Yeah, really crucial mistake there. Even though they had a really good flank there coming from Sijiji, that is still an Azir, very, very squishy. So as soon as he went in with the Emperor's Divide, they just walked around the wall and hit him down. As for FIT, it seems like they were relatively safe. Even with that flank, with both the Call of the Forge God and the Emperor's Divide, a lot of UPD's damage was really focused on their tanks, not on their backline. And that's so good for FIT, because even if they had the terrain disadvantage, the way that UPD played it makes it so FIT gets out of dodge. They have an easy target in Sisiji and just clean up the fight right after, especially after Yochan dived in with Killer Instinct.
And UPD trying to shove out these waves here. Looks like FIT is pushing for potential pressure. Take note, Arfing is making his way towards this top side. So it's just going to be Nona that's going to have to deal with him. Turret, okay, turret passive is up from Syzygy, so this will grant them a bit more time to work with.
A little bit of breathing room. However, that is going to quickly tick down, especially if FIT is very aggressive in how they move, but it seems like they want to focus on this bot side for now. While Arfing is pushing that top side really hard, building up a pretty decent wave.
At this point, take note, we're already heading in 18 minutes into the game rather. So FIT going to be going for Mountain Break, and that's going to be all the more resources for them to close out a bit more earlier because of those faster takes on objectives. And take note, speaking of objectives, as I was saying, 18 minutes into this game, Baron is almost going to come up. So I think UPD, as early as this phase in the game, they probably want to at least take the preemptive move to establish vision around that area. Because,
oh man, look at the damage come from Arfing. He's probably going to try and go for Yochan here. He'll burn, but I think he's happy with that one. This is a chance here if Veer can get a good gank. Killer Instinct to go in. He has taken a lot of damage here. Very dangerous here for Yochan. Yautza indeed picks forth with his life, leaving the mid lane open. FIT wants this inhibitor hard, goes straight for Syzygy, takes him down. Call of the Forge out, comes out, but he has no time to head back to back. Haru is also killed in this fight. Nona has to back off, and this is an inhibitor takedown for FIT.
Oh man, FIT, are they going to try to go for a finish here though? It's like they're going to take the safer route. We'll just try to scout out Veer instead.
Yeah, it seems like Veer is such in a hard spot, 0, 2, and 3. It's just way too difficult for an assassin like this to make good moves in this game state. It's just way too difficult because of how the early game played out and how the mid game was played by UPD. Instead of trying to delay it, they tried to force something to happen because they had a good opportunity, but they misplayed it in the earlier fight, and now Veer is suffering so much for it on this assassin.
This is basically the high-risk, high-reward scenario you encounter when you're running a Kha'Zix. Sure, if you're able to get a snowball early, then you're just gonna assassinate anybody to your liking. But if you're this behind, then even if you have squishy targets on the side of FIT, let's say Burger probably the most optimal because Seb is just pretty healthy at this point. But that's not even a factor here because Veer doesn't even last long enough. If anything, Burger can probably outdamage him before Veer could even get an assassination on him.
Ziggy and Yochan not dealing enough damage themselves to actually leave an opening for their jungler teammate, and their front line, while potent, is building the Iceborne Gauntlet here, so it's not as tanky as other builds would be on other tanks. So it's going to be quite difficult for them to last long in the fight. Paru could bring the shields in, but at this point, because they are behind as a whole, the Soul Flare, the Empowered Q, isn't as potent as it could be as a big poking tool and a zoning tool.
Ooh. Meanwhile, looking at these shoves, lanes are just shoving all across the board.
Ooh, wow. Gonna get taken down here. Pretty easy clap there by UPD. Isolated target. That's basically where they excel best, but this is going to be worth it. Seems like they just are going to lose this Baron buff. It seems like that could have been the only play that they made, because if they tried and interrupt this Baron buff, it's bad news for them. All they could do is go for the kill onto Arfing.
Now it's going to be a clean Baron take for FIT, and this is going to be crunch time for UPD right now. They have to establish a strong enough defense just so that until FIT could lose out on this Baron, but that could be tricky because FIT's been on top of things these past few minutes and they haven't been slowing down whatsoever, and that's something that UPD doesn't really want at this point.
Seems like teleport coming in here from Arfing. He wants to close down on this bot lane turret and inhibitor. Gonna go for a pincer on these objectives on both sides of the map for UPD. Seems like that is going to be the case so quickly with that Mountain Drake, with Burger as well. These inhibitors are just getting taken down so quickly.
FIT spending down on that inhibitor right here. Ooh, it takes so much damage.
Have to be careful with those Nexus turrets. Those are still two very powerful turrets that they do not want to mess with just yet. Slowly choke out UPD at this point. Perhaps they can take down this bot lane, third tier turret, and then the inhibitor, and that's basically the third nail in UPD's coffin here. I guess it's going to be too hard for them to actually wait through this, combined with a Baron buff. FIT going to go straight for the choke here. Yochan actually taking so much damage from Burger. Burger gets taken down by Veer. This could be their chance, but everyone else on UPD is so low, and FIT still so healthy. Unbreakable blocks to call the Forge God, and Paru, Yochan, and Nona have to back off. FIT has complete control over this area. They have basically checkmated UPD in this game one.
And there you have it, guys. Okay, FIT still wanting to go for some kills here before it closes out, but I guess that'll end things as congratulations, FEU Institute of Technology gonna take it against UP Diliman Ablation Esports. Well played indeed.
Man, that was just brutal. I loved how FIT played against the composition that UPD had brought for themselves.
And man, it was just a struggle because in all fairness, I gotta hand it to UPD. In the earlier phases of the game, laning wise, everything was okay. It's just that as soon as FIT started wanting to go for plays, that was where UPD started to falter.
Yeah.
And even though, like you mentioned earlier, there was an opportunity for UPD to have not necessarily pull back ahead, but at least equal the terrain, didn't work out for them. Numbers were in their advantage, but because of how the actual team fight was played out, it just pretty much sealed the deal from there on. Just allowed FIT all the more advantages.
Definitely, but of course, this, as we always say in these later weeks of the group stage, this is such a crucial time for these teams to try and get ahead, and which with every loss that UPD has, their chances of even getting close to that top 6 is getting very slim. Every loss that they have, and here FIT is going to be feeling good. They're going to have a better chance at this one, going to get a better shot. So congratulations for them for winning this first game of the day.
Yeah, really great game that we had right there. But of course, then again, UP Diliman, not the best start to their day, but they do have another game to come up right after this, if I'm not mistaken. AMA Clash Masters that they're up against. So hopefully this time around they can make up for lost ground in that game, just so that they could feel a little bit more better about themselves towards the end of the day. We'll just have to see.
Of course, this is only the first game we're going to have for today. We have other games coming up, so stay tuned. We've been your shoutcasters for the first game. I'm Atlas, with me was Arctic, and we'll be seeing you with more esports action after a short break. Is in the party as well, takes down this Jinx, and now it's going to be Dre up next. Can he Arctic Assault? No, he cannot. Even if he would have been blocked. Here comes Seth, they're trying to salvage the situation. Fear solo gets taken down by Neil. Spot here for UPD, go for a really good team fight in the choke points. He's taking so much damage, he's diving behind though. Yochan's going to try and finish the job. Arfin taking so much damage, Dre as well, but the rocket finish is off Fear, and Yochan is alone in the middle of everyone. Nona has to run away. Seth is going to try and kill him. The goal is straight for the choke here. Yochan actually taking so much damage from Burger. Burger gets taken down by Veer. This could be their chance, but everyone else on UPD is so low, and FIT is still so healthy. Unbreakable blocks to call the Force God, and Haru, Yochan, and Nona have to back off. FIT has complete control over this area. They have basically checkmated UPD in this game 1.
And there you have it, guys. Okay, FIT still wanting to go for some kills here before it closes out, but I guess that'll end things as congratulations, FAU Institute of Technology gonna take it against UP Diliman of Malaysian Esports. Well played indeed.